Salute YouTube. Welcome to the third episode of the Rod+of+God Podcast. This is a special edition of the Rod+of+God Podcast. And today's title is Woman, Thou Art Judged. Modern black females treat marriage as something that is like, even though they are the least married, and that literally if any man proposes to them, they've won the lottery. That's the level of scarcity when it comes to men who are actually willing to expose themselves to that amount of risk. We're on a collision course with a time that Jesus Christ spoke about and described in more detail than he spoke about and described heaven. We are moving towards the end. See the way black women are with us, black men. I see those people who actually conceive in their mind that they're going to wage a war against God. Salute YouTube! Welcome to the third episode of the Rod+of+God Podcast. This is a special edition of the Rod+of+God Podcast. And today's title is Woman, Thou Art Judged. That's a play on words, a play on the whole Chitlin circuit type plays, books, whatever. Woman, Thou Art Loosed. These churches filling up women's heads with silly thoughts, silly doctrine that isn't biblical. And to be honest, it's the black church. It's the black church that is, I think, primarily responsible for a lot of what's going on in the black community in terms of black women. Because black men, we've been saw the light, and we long ago stepped away, and we sought Christ for ourselves, which is, after all, what Christ always intended. Today is an impromptu podcast. I wasn't planning on shooting today, but I had a rather interesting experience. I was watching a live stream of someone I'm not going to mention because it's not important. But on this live stream, there was discussion about, basically the bullshit that men have to go through, especially black men, right? We start these families. If you like me and others, shout out Bernard Riley. We tried to be decent men to black women. We went and we got married. We did it right. We didn't go spreading our seed around recklessly. We did it right. We decided we're going to settle down. We're going to get married. That's the way to do it. You're not going to be a baby daddy. You're not going to bring illegitimate children into the world. We're going to do it right as a family unit. Like we all say, right? The atom, the smallest basic unit of any community is a family. And there are men out there like me, like Mr. Bernard Riley. We did it right. We tried to do it right. Only to have, you already know, right? Like Kevin Samuels exposes every night. These delusional, insufferable females. Because I do differentiate females and women. There are some women out there, very rare, unicorns. And definitely married, which makes them even more rare in terms of sightings. Sightings of them. But yeah, to get back to this live, the men they were frustrated. Like all of us are in this space, right? Frustrated with the black woman, the modern black female. And there were some things that were said on the live that were deeply disturbing to me. Basically, a chorus developed of men saying, hey, if I end up getting a girl pregnant or female pregnant, if she won't give me 100% custody, I'll just pay child support and walk away. I'll have no relationship with the child. I'll abandon the child. And I kept pleading, I kept pleading with these men. I kept, interjecting in the chat and saying, hey guys, wait. Hold up. We don't have to abandon our kids. What we can do is, since we know the horror stories that I have and so many other men have, where they tried to do right and tried to get married, only to have the marriage treated as something as, modern black females treat marriage as something that is even though they are the least married, and that literally if any man proposes to them, they won the lottery. That's the level of scarcity when it comes to men who are actually willing to expose themselves to that amount of risk. They treat it as common. They don't care that you've married them. They don't care that you've made a legitimate woman out of them. They don't care that any children that are produced will be legitimate, right? They don't care about the future of those children. They don't care about how badly that child needs to have both of their parents in their lives. They don't care about duty. They don't care about honor. They don't give a fuck about anything except themselves. And that's what was reflected in his live. These men were fed up. And they reached a conclusion that, hey, if something does happen, and they do end up getting someone pregnant, they'll abandon the child and just pay child support. There was talk of signing away parental rights. And as a father, that disturbed me deeply. And to be honest, I was quite angry with these gentlemen. Because number one, I don't like the optics. Everything that we do, we have to keep in mind, it's the internet. Someone out there, some op, who's plotting our downfall. Because trust and believe, there are people watching all of us. There are people watching all of our channels, recording everything. There's op out there. There are ops out there. And they're waiting for you to hit it big, to play something that you've said. And I always keep that in mind. But of course, a lot of men smartly are hiding behind avatars or monikers that are not reflective of who they are, and so they can speak their mind, and I get it. It's actually rather smart. And I've since changed my channel to be something similar like that, but I also understand the saying, the internet is undefeated, right? They always can go and dig it up. Somehow. There are people who are much smarter than we are, who are good at that kind of thing. They always know how to track you down. So I'm always careful about what I say, so I took great offense to the optics. The optics of a good deal, a large number of black men speaking this way, saying, hey, because of the way females have conducted themselves in family court and when it comes to children. If the female won't give them their child, they're done. And like I said, I was angry at first, but only at first. Because as I thought about it, it just brought home everything that I know, everything that I've experienced and observed, and certainly what I read in the Bible in terms of where this is all going, right? We're on a collision course with a time that Jesus Christ spoke about and described in more detail than he spoke about and described heaven. We are moving towards the end. And the end is not what you think it is. A lot of people think that the end of the world means that fire is just going to rain down on everybody and then that'll be it. Or some people think, well, no, before that fire rains down and burns everyone alive, God is going to take out his church, his believers. The resurrection, the rapture. Those who are asleep in Christ be resurrected, right? That's what Christ always promised us. Excuse me. Christ always told us, hey, you will defeat death. That's why he died and rose. He is the picture. He's the first fruits, as the Bible says, of the resurrection. He's showing us that you won't die in me. In me, even though you die, you live. So that's what the rapture really is. It's the resurrection. It's when Jesus raises those who are asleep, dead, translates them to these new heavenly bodies, kind of like angels. And those who are lucky enough to be walking around on that day, they're never going to die. There's actually a special select group of people who actually will never die because they'll happen to be alive on that day. And since they're not dead to be risen, they'll just be translated. It's beautiful. We'll get into it in the Bible study one day. So there are some people who look at, who think that the end of the world is like, first that will happen. First the resurrection will happen. Then burn up everyone else. Neither is correct. The resurrection certainly will happen. Of course it will. And exactly as Jesus, as the Holy Scriptures lay it out. The end of the world means the end of the age. That's what the word world translates to. It doesn't mean the end of the world. It means the end of an era, basically. It's from this point forward, everything changes. The fact of the matter is, if Christ were to resurrect his church right now, the rapture, the resurrection, time would go on for at least another 1,007 years. How do we know that? It's going to be a 7-year treaty, right, with Israel, at the half of which, 3.5 years, the treaty will be broken, which will kick off the Great Tribulation, right? And at the end of that second half, the 3.5 years, Christ returns. Israel turns to Christ and actually starts believing in Jesus as their Messiah. And he returns. That's his one condition. You have to call on me. Israel has to call on him. Right? So again, if the rapture was to happen, the resurrection, today, right now, those 7 years are called for in the scripture have to pass, at least those 7 years, right? Could be something like 8, 10. We don't, Christ leaves a lot of mystery when it comes to his revealing revelation. The book of Revelation is Christ revealing himself to creation, not just going around preaching in his neighborhood in Israel, but to the entire world as God, right? So, if the rapture were to happen right now today, you have at least those 70 years. Like I said, it's kind of mysterious, but at least that. And then Christ will reign for 1,000 years on earth. The end of the world is not the end. It's not that the world is going to stop. The world is going to change in a way and in ways that are unfathomable to us. But the mechanism by which that change will happen is catastrophic, right? But to bring it back on top, to tie it in with the topic, the people of earth, the earth dwellers, those who are alive and moving around on the earth, leading up to the revelation, the kickoff of all these events. The Bible talks about what those people are like. And that's what I have experienced of our women, of Black women. When I see the way Black women are towards us, Black men, I see those people who actually conceive it in their mind that they're going to wage war against God. That's what happens at the end. The Antichrist, these leaders or whatever, they decide, hey, he coming for us and shit, mount up. Ludicrous, but it's going to happen. That's how I see Black women, these Black females, like I said, not all of them, but these modern Black females. That's how I see them. I see them as people who just don't give a fuck. And when I was on this stream and I heard these gentlemen, once I got over my shock and I thought about it, I realized that Black women, Black females, this is your fault. It's your fault because these men are intelligent, resourceful, successful. And you have, through your demonic conduct and behavior, you have turned them. You have turned them away from you as women. Every day, you are becoming more to these men as a sex object. You're like a glorified sex doll. And I have to be honest, I don't blame them. Because the cost of being anything more with you, the cost of trying to be decent to you is so exorbitant that literally it destroys. It's financially, it destroys you. The cost of dealing with a Black female, it literally means destruction. And when you face a man with that choice, the choice of either be destroyed or objectify, he's gonna objectify. You're reaping what you sowed. You did this to yourself. I know. I'm a man. I've had man friends. Even in this space, all these different men, like, we aren't making this shit up. That's what I love about Kevin Samuel's show. It shows, it validates us. That's why I get so angry when people speak against him. When people have any fucking thing to say against Kevin Samuels, because it's like, what the fuck? Guys, brothers, he has authenticated everything that we've been saying all this time. How the fuck can you have anything to say bad about someone who was able to articulate it in a way that now the whole world is like, whoa. So they aren't all pieces of shit. Their women are fucking nuts. So yeah, this live, it was disturbing. But the more I thought about it, the more I said, I'm gonna do an impromptu podcast. Because I have a lot of shit I need to get off my chest. And this podcast is dedicated to the black female, not the black woman. Because there are black women out there. We've seen them call in to Kevin Samuels. We may have encountered some of them in our lives. They're good women. They would never, ever, they see what's going on with Kevin Samuels and these masculine females, and they're like, the fuck? Right? So we're not talking about all women, black females. This podcast is for you. It's my dedication to you. Inspired by what transpired on this live, that, like I said, I know why, I understand why things are getting that bad. And the title of this podcast is, like I said, Woman, Thou Art Judged. And the way I'm going to break this down is with 3 woes. In the book of Revelation, I believe at the sounding of the 5th trumpet, of the trumpet judgments. I think there's 7 in total. At the sounding of the 5th one, yeah. The last of those 7, 5, 6, and 7, there were woes, 3 woes. And that's the best way I can frame this special edition podcast. 3 woes. We'll be right back for woe number 1. Failed against your purpose as a woman. Be the helpmeet of the man. As I like to say, help the man meet his goal, his production goal. Not physically, but to help the man meet his production goals in terms of being whatever it is that he needs you to be in a supportive capacity, that he can go out into the world, build. You've rejected despising of the things that are most precious, yet idolizing the things that are worth vanity. Woe to the black female, the black modern female. This is why I wanted to start this channel, because it amazes me how many modern black females afford to be Christians and yet carry on. Yeah, you forfeited your honor. You pursued men as if they were the woman. You were the man. Hypersexual, as they say. Right? But it's like, in that act, like you're so consumed. This is what I mean by demon, demonic. Like you're so consumed by having that sensual pleasure, that sensual stimulation, that sexual stimulation, that like you don't care. You're just like, somebody just fuck me. Like, that's exactly how the modern female is. And if you
be honest, it's fucking scary.
Welcome back to the Rod+of+God Podcast. So, woe number one for the modern black female. You have so abandoned and rebelled against your purpose as a woman to be the helpmeet of the man. To, as I like to say, help the man meet his goals, his production goals. Not physically, but to help the man meet his production goals in terms of being whatever it is that he needs you to be in a supportive capacity so that he can go out into the world and build. You've rejected that. And now, like so many of us say in this space, the only thing you care about in terms of what a man can provide for you is his dick. I think I can say that word. And his wallet. And not necessarily in that order. So, in your masculine pursuit of the man for sexual satisfaction, you abandoned any honor that you carry, any honor that was placed in you by your Creator, right? Because this is a spiritual channel. And this is why I wanted to start this channel. Because it amazes me how many modern black females purport to be Christians and yet carry on like this. So yeah, you forfeited your honor. You pursued men as if they were the woman and you were the man. And when it comes down to the actual deed, how many of you that I've experienced myself refuse to even use a condom? I cannot tell you how many black females that I've slept with who had an attitude about the fact that I insist on wearing a condom. I've had women try to talk me out of using a condom the way men, young boys, because men should know better, the way young boys would try to talk young girls out of having to use a condom. You know how young boys would be like, oh no, like I want to feel it. And the young girls in my day and age would be like, you got me fucked up. Like this ain't happening unless you strap up. Well, that's not the case anymore. And it hasn't been the case for a long time. I had a girlfriend who, when, I dropped off at work one day, and when I picked her up, she was telling me how, women, that's another thing y'all do, run y'all fucking mouth up at y'all jobs about what's going on at home. They were exchanging men's stories, and she was telling me how her coworkers could not believe that I refused to take off the condom. And she said her coworker was like, you're lying. There's no way. No man would insist on wearing the condom when you want him to take it off. And it's like, just think about that story. Just think about that. And you don't have to think about it. The men know. But this, like I said, is for the women. It's like you've become addicted to being fucked raw. And you don't like to not be fucked raw. But the problem with fucking raw is kid. And you actually lie to yourselves and convince yourselves that when you're fucking raw, there's no chance you're gonna get pregnant. Knowing full well, not only the chance of you getting pregnant, but that you're ovulating. It's like you're these dark demons. That's the only way I can explain it. Because there's so much darkness in all of this. There's so much darkness in exchanging the feminine prerogative for the masculine. Like I said, I think in my last podcast, it's like we have to be in our masculine energy because men ain't shit. Well, that's a fucking lie. The statistics prove that. We've discredited that. But even if it were true, which it isn't, how does that translate to you actually acting like men? It's like you're so sexual, it's like a man. And yes, I have benefited from that. A lot of men have benefited from your over sexuality. I mean, let's keep it buck. I mean, some of y'all are like hypersexual, as they say, right? But it's like in that act, like you're so consumed, and that's what I mean by demonic. It's like you're so consumed by having that sensual pleasure, that sensual stimulation, that sexual stimulation that like you don't care. You're just like, somebody just fuck me. Right? That's exactly how the modern female is. And to be honest, it's fucking scary. Until I think about what the Bible says, as I said in the introduction, about the type of people who will be around in the last days leading up to the 1,007 years that the earth will continue on. And then there'll be a new heaven and a new earth, so go figure. But to the end of the age, the type of people at the end of the age, which is not really the end of the world, when I think about those type of people, you sound just like them. Consumed by desire and covetousness and lasciviousness and pride and selfishness and hating of anything decent, despising of the things that are most precious, and yet idolizing the things that are worthless and vanity. Woe to the black female, the black modern female. Because in your demonic need to be fucked and fucked raw and fucked hard, number one, you've lost your walls. Yeah, because you have this desire, it's so intense that a human dick can't do it for you. And you go out and buy these fucking toys, jam it inside of yourself. Bigger and bigger and bigger. Fucking progressing. Start out with the little ones and then bigger and bigger and bigger. no walls were spared. And 0 walls were spared. Not to brag, I'm not a small guy. I can't tell you the last time. In fact, I can't. College. The last time that I entered some walls and there were walls. So number one, the first woe, you have degraded your own pussy. Now that thing that, yes, in times past, wars were fought over it, right? It's not the same. I'm going to tell you this, ladies. This is a special edition Rod+of+God podcast for you. It's not the same. It's not even the same as it was when I was in college, which was in the early 2000s. Not even close. Not even close. So you have this insatiable desire. You've blown your own walls out, or let some guy blow them out. And the kicker, you have trained men to not be able to perform with a condom. Now, because you have been the one insisting, don't use the condom, I have this, or I take that, or I got implanted with that, this. Bullshit. You're trying to get pregnant because like a fucking spider waiting to fucking tangle a poor man in the fucking webs you weave. You intentionally get pregnant. I said it. There are no accidental pregnancies in 2021. Have been accidental pregnancies since fucking 1990s. And probably before that. To trap that man because you know the only thing you're good for is your pussy. It's that hole. And that motherfucker ain't got no walls on it. Just saying. You're reaping what you sow. You see us as just a dick. And your pussy ain't worth shit. And yet, you have trained the black man to need raw wop. And only raw wop. And this is a real thing. I always use condoms because I have experienced of taking it off and like, oh shit, now when I put it back on, that chick who was talking about our sex life with her coworkers, she made a joke one time. She said, I always know when you about to finish. She said, because you get real soft. You might, think like, the fuck she mean by that? I knew what she meant by that. Because what's happening is I'm like, oh, I can't feel nothing. Oh, shit. And then I'm like, wait, concentrate, get the shit over with. And that's how it is whenever you've gone from the raw to the protected. But see, when I first started and lost my virginity, I couldn't tell, I could barely tell the difference. But again, WAP was a lot better back then. So yeah, one woe is past, black females, black modern females. One woe is past, but behold, 2 more woes come. And when you face a man with that choice, the choice of either be destroyed or objectified, he's gonna objectify. Welcome back to the special edition of the Rod+of+God Podcast, an episode devoted to or addressing specifically the modern black female. One woe is past, on to woe number 2. These men that you set up, that you've trapped, knowing full well what you were doing all along. Now these men are stuck with a decision to make, which you, in complete disregard for your creator and life, you're willing to go and terminate pregnancies that are the direct result of your own selfishness and recklessness. And now, a life, a baby is murdered in the place where, as so many others have said, in the place where they should be the most safe. Literally, your womb is hollow ground. It's the workstation of the Lord your God. It's where he stitches each and every one of us together. And you go to some doctor and you let him desecrate that holy place and murder a child. That's normally what you do. That's normally what you present to the man, because you ain't shit yourself. You just want to get a nut. Just like a fucking man. You knew you were ovulating. You knew the chances. You rolled the dice, because what the fuck is it to you? You'll just go and terminate the pregnancy. You'll go to the dude. You know he don't want a child with you. He will pay. Thank the Lord, I don't know how much it is. But he will pay that amount to get you out of his fucking life. Or, if you feel that you've caught a lick, or if you, I'll give you this, have a heart, you have the child, right? But what happens if you have the child and this man who never saw you as more than a fucking jump off, a booty call, some ass, and to be fair, you likewise only saw him as some dick. It's not like he's just this monstrous person. You were both doing what you were doing. The only difference is he has no fucking control over whether or not you get pregnant. But you do. He should wear a condom, but as I just stated in the last segment, you won't let him. I know you. I've dealt with you all my life. Y'all fucking hate condoms. right? So now this man is in this impossible position where he either has to finance the termination of an innocent life that would never have had to happen if you weren't a reckless, selfish person, right? So he either has to do that or he's stuck with you. And if he ends up being stuck with you, now there's already resentment between him and that child. And there's resentment between him and you. If you had a fucking half a brain, you would know that children are very perceptive. They are especially perceptive to the things that are not seen. They are especially perceptive to the things that are felt. And you bring that child into that. But you don't stop there. Oh, you're just getting started. Now, the games begin. You're showing up at this place or that place. Arguing, fussing and fighting over money. You going around telling everybody around town he ain't shit. Again, when I think on the people who will have fiery hell drop down their fucking heads, you come to mind. Because this level of evil, it's not human. When I say demon, I'm not trying to demonize you. When I say demon, I'm dead ass serious. This is not human. Look back through time. No woman has ever carried herself like this. Ever. It's monstrous. You were in control the entire time of whether or not a pregnancy happened in the first place. That's your biggest sin. And you do it because you know nobody fucking wants you. But instead of listening to the Kevin Samuels of the world, men who are honest with you and don't pander, what do? Instead of listening to them, you attack him. He's trying to help y'all ass. And I can tell you, he is more and more lonely when it comes to that. Increasingly more lonely every day. More and more men are like, love Kevin Samuels, love what he's doing. I ain't marrying these bitches. That's what's so interesting. Anne Boleyn, right? Hopefully we've heard of Anne Boleyn, Queen Elizabeth's mother, right? Anne Boleyn was a young girl, King Henry VIII, England. He had a wife, I believe it was Catherine of Aragon, Catherine. And Catherine was barren. Catherine couldn't have kids. And yeah, she couldn't have children, right? And King Henry VIII, kind of was like fed up and was like, I want an heir, like most men do. So he pulled some strings, ended up breaking from the Roman Catholic Church, starting the Church of England, and he divorced his wife, which is unheard of in the Catholic Church, especially among regents, sovereigns. Right? So he was able to pull it off. He got the divorce. And he set his sights on Anne Boleyn. Right? Young girl, she's fertile. She's going to give you an heir. And King Henry married Anne and went to work on being fruitful and multiplying. Right? And they conceived, but they were daughters first. Elizabeth, a very famous queen, she ended up being, but not what Daddy wanted. Daddy wanted a boy. And it created a lot of friction in their marriage. And finally, she conceived again. And that time, it was a boy. But the boy was stillborn. He didn't survive the birth. He was born dead. And in the movie, Anne of 1,000 Days is the name of the movie. There's this brilliant line where some of her rivals in the palace, when they heard that the child was born, the man-child was stillborn, they said, "She has miscarried of her deliverer." That is how I feel about modern black females and Kevin Samuels. Don't get me wrong, Christ is your deliverer. But we're not talking about spirituality right now. This is rubber meets the road. What the fuck is wrong with y'all? Right? So on the rubber meets the road, the terrestrial, the earth, in a way, Kevin Samuels was your deliverer. He was someone sent to tell you the truth so that you can turn around, about face, and get immediately to work on all that he has prescribed so that the men out here who can give you what you want, can give you what you need. The men can give you what you need, because what you want, is well documented, is, let's just say, delusional, unrealistic. But when you can actually come down to reason, the men who can provide you companionship, security. Kevin Samuels was preparing you for those men. And so had you just taken that, went right to work on it, I can tell you that in this space, the only thing men will be able to say is like, damn, these women is really like, I can't believe it. Kevin Samuels really convinced these women to fucking give us some act right. But that's not what you did. And of course, I'm talking to females, not women, because there are women who've listened to Kevin Samuels and they've changed and they're working very hard. But I think even he says it's going to end up being like 10%, and I think that's an optimistic projection. The 90% of y'all won't. Instead of taking the cheat codes and running off with it, you waged war against him. And you still war against him. And so when I think of the modern black female, and I think of that live stream where men are so done with you because of these two woes that we've already gone over, and yet a third woe comes. You've miscarried of your deliverer. You're reaping what you sowed. You did this to yourself. The cost of dealing with a black female, it literally means destruction. trying to get pregnant is like a fucking spider waiting to fucking tangle a poor man, fucking webs you weave. You intentionally did. Welcome back to the special edition of the Rod+of+God Podcast. Black modern females. 2 woes have passed, and there's yet one final woe. You created this environment. The same environment that you complain about. You created it. I remember the 90s. I was just a kid. But it was like women called all the shots. Like whatever a woman said was law. Like if a woman felt like, for instance, jeans. If a woman felt like your jeans weren't baggy enough, looking like a fucking clown, you would go out and you would do whatever the fuck you had to do to get baggier jeans so that woman would find you desirable. And that type of dynamic has been going on, or was going on for so long. It's like the world was at your feet. Like men were simps. The level of simping that men did in the 90s, it's astounding. And it's no wonder that there was a snowball effect in terms of how debased the mind got, how detached from reality. It's the simping. Too many men let you be the man. Let you lead, let you decide. There are women in this space who make videos titled, "How to Spot This and That Masculine Trait." This is what's masculine. And like they're aloof. They are not the authority on what is masculine. But that is the level, like that's how deep it goes. Where like women actually believe that they can define what masculinity is to other women. When you haven't even mastered, you haven't even touched what femininity is. And it just goes to show, like, your priorities are so mixed up. You created this. You created this environment because that's when God comes into it. Whether you like it or not, you were created by God. And you were created by God with a purpose. You don't get to decide what that purpose is. You let yourself get swept up into this fucking demonic, anti-Christian fucking atmosphere, spirit. knowing good and damn well you don't come from that. You don't come from that. These white people around here believing that they fucking evolved from a monkey. You don't come from that. But you got so swept up into it. Why? Because then you get bust your nut. Conscience clear. You created this. You are the reason the men on that live stream today publicly declared they would rather abandon their own kids than deal with you. I hear so many women say, oh, another thing, that's the black woman's fault. It is your fucking fault. It's your fault. You are the woman. It's like even saying that statement just portrays the fact that you don't get it. You still can't see. You're the woman. Men ain't changed since Adam. We went over in my Bible study, Genesis part 3. Check it out. You know, the fact that when Adam and Eve disobeyed God in the garden, and the Lord handed out judgments, right? To the man, we had to work extra hard. Incredible toil for the bare minimum, bread. Right? We have to work, and to this day, that's still true of all men. We have to bust our ass for very little return. We have to do that for 20, 30 years before we really start making some real money. And to the woman, Eve, the judgment, the curse was sorrow and labor. Incredible pain and sorrow and labor. And as I said in the Bible study, how many women you know have this incredible sorrow and labor in childbirth? You make a fucking appointment like it's a hair appointment. You get knocked out or you get numb. Even if you push, it's drugs. No one's worried about your life or the child's life. Technology has gotten so advanced. So you circumvented your judgment. That was your one judgment. That was the one thing that kept you in line. God knows you. He created you. And he created you with a purpose. It was to be a help meet to the man, helping that man meet his production goals in whatever supportive capacity he requires, so that he can go out into the world and fucking produce and build. That's your purpose. And then right beneath that, your purpose is to bring forth life, not destroy it. Right? So those are your purposes. And in that bringing forth of the life, the judgment God gave you in the garden was the way it has been for all the time up until very recently. You could die in childbirth. And that kept you in line. Because every woman knew, like, I could be meeting the Creator when I have this baby. It also kept you in line in terms of, like we just spoke about Anne Boleyn, Catherine, before her, the first wife, was divorced, annulled. He actually annulled Catherine, Henry VIII did, because she couldn't produce children. Like, that was the level of stigma. If you didn't have children, if you couldn't have children, if you didn't produce a child for that man. So women were always kept in line in terms of your purpose in God God keeping you in line by you understanding that God could close up your womb and say, no life is coming out of there right now. I'll think about it. Or God could open up your womb. You could have a child and die in childbirth. The Lord knows what it takes to keep you in your purpose. But what have you done? If the Lord closes the womb, you go freeze your eggs. Shout out Kevin Samuels. I can hear the egg frying drop he plays right now. It's fucking hilarious. But okay. Yeah, you go fucking freeze your eggs. Have some fucking doctor go and fucking do some kind of damn demonic ass sorcery. Fucking take your egg, take some man's sperm, put them together in fucking test tube. They gotta do a bunch of them because a lot of them ain't gonna take. Stick them all back up in you, and then even more of them don't take. But even if like 2 or 3 end up taking, now you got to decide, hey, there are 2 boys and 1 girl. You want to have a boy or a girl? I want a boy. Okay, we're going to kill this one and kill this one. So you can have a boy. You see the level of fucking demonic shit y'all have been fucking around with? This is what the fuck y'all been doing. And if it's not that, you actually have conceived naturally, then it's these fucking salon appointment, all right, wake me up when it's over. Or even if you push it out, epidural. No one is in fear of your life, and you certainly are not in fucking pain. The Lord knows what you need to stay in your purpose. And that is what is at the root of all of this. You're not in your purpose. The most precious thing in all of existence, not on this planet, but in all of existence, is life. There literally is nothing more precious than it. And the woman, the feminine, understands that and understands how special a role she plays because she is the vessel by which life comes forth. And these black modern females either terminate that life or bring it forward only to terminate that life by snatching it away from its father, by not giving a fuck about how well it does in school, by dragging the child back and forth to courthouses, gossiping about the father, talking shit about the father. Ruining your own child. It's either or. Black females, modern black females. Homewreckers, shout out Kevin Samuels. Homewreckers. Homewreckers or womb wreckers. But you're one or the other. And that's what I mean. You created this. That's why y'all get such an uproar over these police killings. Because you see your handiwork. You know those boys, those men, they are your accomplishment. You made them. That's what you see when you see them die. You're reminded of what the fuck you are, of what you have done. And you're right to feel a maternal instinct towards those boys and men, because you are their creator. You produce them. Worthless men, not working, on drugs, lost. Because you ripped them away from their fathers, or actually conceived them with men who were never fathers to begin with. It's one or the other. So, this third woe is a warning. You truly need to get serious with God, because the sins of the modern black female, not the woman, the female, are so great. The stench of it has risen up to God. And when the stench of something rises up to God, He has no other choice but to judge. And what is that judgment going to look like? Next Bible study, we'll be starting the Sodom and Gomorrah section of the Bible. Sodom and Gomorrah is a place where the stench of what was going on rose up to God, and He decided to do something about it. That's an example of what that judgment could be. But probably not the raining down of fire and brimstone, literally. But there are other ways God can rain down fire and brimstone on you without actually doing it. Wake up. Turn to the one who saves. Turn to the one who forgives. I'm telling you, you need it. The way you have so carelessly destroyed lives. The corpses left in your wake. You need mercy. We all do. But I'm telling you, you need mercy. Because what I experienced on that live today is a peek into the future. Speaking of Sodom and Gomorrah, those men had turned so completely away from their woman that to see an angel walk by, which they didn't know was an angel, it was just a stranger, a face that wasn't familiar, they swarmed the house to try to, can't say the word, forcibly have relations with them. And that's what is going to happen if y'all don't fucking change. Men are going to turn away from you. And we all know it. You can sense it. There are whispers. It's like, if the relationship between black men and black women, not just black men and black women, men and women, modern men and modern women, if it continues to be this corrosive, but especially with black men and black women, it continues to get this corrosive. And our women are already very sexually fluid with each other. And you put men in a position where the only way they can have sex is with this female who could end up pregnant and end up destroying their lives if she does get pregnant. What are men gonna do? Don't miscarry of your Savior, your deliverer, Kevin Samuels. Listen to what the man has to say and fucking get to work on it. Because I'm telling y'all, it's getting rough out here in these streets. When men will publicly say what was being said, your time is almost up, black modern females. You don't want men to turn that dark against you. Y'all gotta wake the fuck up. And I'm telling you, it's urgent. Get to work. Smile at black men when you see them. Do something. Because I'm telling you, it's getting bad. It's getting worse. Not better. And I'm telling you, the only way y'all are going to turn it around, the only way out of this for the black modern female is Jesus Christ. He's the only way. I'm telling you, it will take a miracle to change the hearts of black men to be willing to see you as more than what you have presented yourself to be. Because again, they don't, in my opinion, they aren't seeing you any differently than the way you carry yourself. Get in a Bible-based church. You're welcome to come and watch me, sure. I'm teaching the Bible, I can't discriminate. It's not a prerogative I can entertain. Feel free to come here. Whatever you do, however you do it with haste. Your time is coming to a close. The 90% of you, because the 10% who are going to be on Kevin Samuels' program, they'll be good. Some high value men will snatch them up, they'll be fine. The rest of you, pray. It's that bad. And the fact that it's that bad is just you reaping what you sowed. You caused this. You created this. That's all I have to say about it. Good night.